What's going on, everyone? Today we're going to go over everything that we do know so far with the next season, Season 17 of Apex Legends, with all those rumors and leaks that have been floating around. There is quite a bit coming next season, but let me know down in the comments, what season did you start in, and if Season 16 was better than Season 15. Personally, I feel like we're on a slight upswing with the Apex Legends seasons, and I would like to know what you think down there as well. Hey, buddy. Hey. Starting it right off, every season has this overarching type of theme, and we do have a mech theme this season. It does seem like, per what was leaked with the name of the Battle Pass, and this usually shares a theme naming with the overall season. Mech theme also makes sense because we know Apex did come from Titanfall, and it has been a while since we've had direct links to the Titanfall universe. There's always small links, but I would say Season 9, when Valkyrie came into the game, was really the last season where we did have a lot of Titanfall linkage, and that would be 2 years ago this May, so this would make sense that we do get a little bit more Titanfall linked into the game. But even then, Season 9 was not as directly linked to Titans, and maybe this season could have a little bit more linkage to overall mechanized type of stuff. Likewise, we have potential event names of Hitman, Neon, and Alien, which overall gives me the feeling that this is kind of an out of this world type of theme, even though Apex is out of this world, but the overall theme of the season, I think, is going to be a little bit more alien. I'm okay with these names personally. I love sci-fi, so this is pretty much right up my alley. Season 16 was the first season ever to not get a new legend, and Respawn did say that this was more or less probably going to be a one-time thing, so we can't expect a new legend coming with Season 17, and it makes sense that Ballistic was leaked heavily for Season 16, so we should be expecting him for Season 17. The huge leak that did happen, say, a year plus ago is getting more and more outdated to the point where the abilities might not be quite as accurate as they once were, but the abilities that were leaked are going to be as followed. He's an assault class legend. He can hold 3 weapons for a passive ability. Personally, this sounds a little OP and broken to me. I don't expect him to actually be able to hold 3 weapons, or if he can hold 3 weapons, that 3rd weapon is probably going to be slightly nerfed, whether it's the amount of ammo you can have or you can only use it a certain amount of time. The passive is the Smart Bullet. This shoots a projectile debuff at enemies. Enemies' guns will heat up as they fire, causing them to overheat and do a small amount of damage to that enemy if they do overheat their weapons. And the Smart Bullet can also lock onto enemies, so you will be able to more or less just shoot it. I kind of get like tactical fuse, like knuckle cluster type deals with this, but it locks on to enemies. That's at least what I envision it as. And the ultimate is going to be the weapon enhancer. This has also been rumored for a while, but nearby teammates get faster reloads, more speed, infinite ammo, and Ballistic's current gun goes to the gold rarity, meaning it does become fully kitted. This sounds pretty good, and I do think it gives Ballistic a support element, even though he is primarily an assault class legend due to what his abilities are all about, which is enhancing weapons. When it comes to a new legend in Apex Legends, I'm just going to straight up say that a new legend needs to be actually really good when it does come to the game, if not OP. What's the point of having a new legend in the game if they are not going to be good and no one uses them? You're kind of just wasting your time. So personally, I'd much rather have a new legend come to the game that is actually busted and overpowered, and then they tone them back a little bit. Not necessarily in terms of like how crazy like Seer was, but overall it's been like 7 or so seasons since we did have an actually OP legend with Seer, and we had Valkyrie before that. Fuse was before that in Season 8, but before that we had Horizon. So really from Season 7 all the way to like Season 11, we had actually OP legends coming into the game. And this was a little bit more exciting, I feel like, than the sprint of Ash, Mad Maggie, Newcastle, and Vantage. I'm not saying those legends are bad. I just think that overall, I want the new legend to be actually strong and actually viable in the meta of Apex. And at minimum, if they are not going to make that new legend overpowered or very good, it needs to fit a very specific niche or hole of gameplay. Like Newcastle is a very good legend. I think I ranked him as one of the top 3 legends you can use in the game, but Newcastle doesn't really necessarily fit anything unique. Newcastle can do a lot of what someone like Rampart can do with fortifying areas, or someone like Lifeline with reviving, so, you know, there's not a lot there in terms of uniqueness. It is difficult to predict whether or not we are going to get a new weapon. It took forever for us to get the Nemesis Assault Rifle, which did come last season. It was 5 seasons between the Car SMG, which did come out in Season 11, all the way to the Nemesis in Season 16. So getting a new gun right after the Nemesis seems pretty unlikely in my eyes, and Respawn's stance on this probably hasn't changed in my opinion. They've basically said they don't want to add guns just to add weapons, and they only want to add guns when they feel like something is missing in the game. And I do think it's a pretty fair take. You don't want so many guns to the point where it becomes too hard to balance, or overall there's just way too much randomness and the skill gap gets a little bit diluted because there's so many crazy guns out there that honestly makes it too hard to predict. We did, however, see a couple leaks for new weapons. The first is going to be the Fnatic Fanatic pistol, and the second is going to be the Gemini SMG. The Fanatic pistol is a dual-wield energy weapon. You get 2 pistols, and you can charge them up to deal more damage. I do not really expect this to come into the game, but honestly, if a dual-wield pistol does come into the game, I think this is pretty good. More than likely, I think we could expect a hop-up to come into the game where you can dual-wield 2 P2020s or something like that, not really getting a dual-wield weapon all on its own. The second of that Gemini SMG is going to be an energy SMG that reloads the magazine of the second Gemini SMG if you are running 2 of them. This seems really weird to me, and I don't foresee this happening, but you never know. And my guess is that this was just an idea Respawn was playing with, and, you know, it's probably been way gone, and I don't expect this to actually come into the game. The maps in Apex Legends are a big topic of discussion right now. Season 16 for many had the weakest map set in a while. Broken Moon, I think, is very divided. It's definitely not the most popular map. I don't think it's the most hated either. I think it's very likely that Kings Canyon is going to be coming back, and I do expect World's Edge or Broken Moon to sit out at least for the first part of the season. For the map changes, if we look back at the previous year or so, we can get a good idea as to what map they might target. There wasn't any map changes in Season 16. They just put on Mirage Voyage, and they said that was only going to be there for this season. Season 15 was the brand new map of Broken Moon. Season 14 was the big changes to Kings Canyon. Season 13 had small Storm Point changes, and Season 12 had substantial Olympus changes with Terminal and Phase Driver. Season 11 saw Storm Point being added, and then Season 10 all the way back was the last time World's Edge did get changes of Lava Siphon and Climatizer. It does kind of make sense that World's Edge would be getting some sort of updates, but if we look at the last 2 years, you know, last year you skip a season after a new map comes out, and then that second season, the May season, that new map does get updates, which would mean Broken Moon is more than likely going to get some sort of changes for this season, and World's Edge might be sitting out in the earlier part of the season. They could surprise me with this, and they could do something like World's Edge starting off with getting some changes, and then maybe in the mid-season they have a POI adjustment. I think for the most part, though, we do need to be getting a lot more map changes on the regular. We need to be getting them so much more frequently because we have 5 maps, and you could go 2+ years now with having no map changes, which is almost where we are at for World's Edge. I understand that the map doesn't always have to be in the game, and it's very hard to maintain all the maps in a paused condition, and you are going to have a big problem if they do keep releasing even more new maps. So this is something that I'm sure they are looking at. It's been like a year and a half. You know, we've had a couple here and there, but we used to always get a POI update during the middle of the season. It would be great to have this come back so we actually get some sort of like tweaks to the maps mid-season, and we get a little bit more fresh content around that at least. Right now, I feel like it's just a lot of events, and I'll get to that more in a second. For the meta changes of the season, though, what can you expect? Revenant seems very likely. There was leaked changes for Revenant coming in Season 16. It didn't happen. Seems like it was pulled at the last minute. We don't really know exactly, but either way, Rev is more or less a robot, and this would line up with the season theme of it being mechanized, so I could see Revenant getting some pretty good changes this season. Most Legends, honestly, feel pretty good, and I don't see a lot of changes coming to the Legends in Apex this season. If I do see something at all, I would want something for like Caustic or Gibby. Those Legends are pretty underutilized right now. They're not bad per se, but it would be nice to have them get a little bit sort of buff or a tweak that does make them more viable. I'm also in an odd spot where I want fresh experiences in the game, but also just don't want to change things just to change them. I kind of like what Respawn does with the Legends. We've had Crypto changes, Watson changes, Ash changes, Mirage changes, and overall, these Legends are becoming OP, but if you do like playing those Legends, these changes are greatly welcomed, and I would love to see this to continue down the line with a lot more of the Legends, as many of them could use like a slight modernization and just make their kits feel a little bit better. There has been very few rumors and leaks of the weapon changes for next season, but I can see a couple small things happening. For one, a small Nemesis nerf does seem likely. The Nemesis is definitely OP and broken right now if you are good at controlling that burst rifle. The charge rifle has also been kind of going crazy. You know, we see a lot of usage in the ALGS and in Realm Royale, but in casual sense, I do not see a ton of usage in pubs, but it would not surprise me if we did see some sort of charge rifle adjustment. I'm not really sure what they could do with it. Maybe reduce the mag size where you can only shoot 2 shots before you have to reload. Not quite sure. I also don't love that we do dictate weapon changes and legend changes to the 0.001% of the player base, and hopefully we are looking at the larger picture, and when I say we, I mean Respawn. We should expect the RE45 to come back to the floor. It has been in the care package for, I believe, 2 seasons now, and something like the Car SMG would probably go into the care care package. We have already had every other SMG go into the care package, so the car going in there kind of makes sense to me, and this probably would make it the best SMG or close range weapon in the game. As for the game modes, you know, there's not much to expect next season. We just got TDM this season in the mixtape playlist. They took out arenas, so I don't really expect a lot to come into the game when it comes to game modes. There was a huge rumor or leak of a Rumble playlist. Basically, this would be a 60-player free-for-all, basically solos, but no abilities and no loadouts, and they say no rules. This makes it seem like it would be just a straight-up shooter with no abilities, and honestly sounds very intriguing. I'd be very interested to see how Apex plays with no abilities. Positioning would probably be insanely important in Apex. I mean, it's already important, but if you have no abilities to like close gaps, your positioning is going to be key, and it all comes down to gun skill. And I would actually welcome this mode, and if it is a solo type mode and it sticks around for a while, I think that would be pretty cool. If we now take a look at the next Heirloom and some of the seasonal events or the post-launch season content that is coming, Horizon now is the longest legend to ever have to wait for an Heirloom, beating Crypto of 910 days by the time she does get it. Horizon is, of course, the next rumored or leaked legend to get an Heirloom. A couple models were found in the game files, not specifically with the actual model, but just the names of the models. And as for post-launch content, a huge criticism I do have with Apex's events is that they aren't really events. It really is just a continual cash grab, and it's a little jarring every time I open Apex, and my friends actually make fun of it, and they are much more casual players than me. You know, they open a game and there's another cosmetic event where they're asking for your money to get stuff. Obviously, you don't have to buy this stuff. It's all cosmetics. It doesn't really affect gameplay, so I'm okay with it. If you are going to market these things as events and you're going to release trailers and, you know, promote them, I would really like to see some actual in-game content, map adjustments, small tweaks to legends, small tweaks to weapons, or whatever else. You know, limited time modes are of course good. And one of the more recent ones we did have in season 16 had an LTM, and that LTM was kind of bugged where you couldn't really even get teammates and queue times were absurdly long. So overall, you know, I think the events in Apex Legends definitely need some refinement. We need a little bit more steady drip of content post-season launch. I'm not saying a ton of things, but maybe once or twice if you are going to market the events. Either way though, it's all cosmetics, and to me, it doesn't really matter that much, and I would rather have them just focus on the gameplay overall. We can expect this new season to drop on May 9th, which does line up with the previous season's Battle Pass ending. If you made it this far, drop a smiley emoji down below. I greatly appreciate the support. Hit that like button, subscribe for more. We got a lot coming on the way, and I will see you in the next one.